All right, so what is consciousness? Because that's something I want to talk about in today's video. So, consciousness is the ability to be aware and awake in any given situation. And maybe it's not any given situation, but it should be applied to everything that we do. Every decision, everything, every little thing that happens in our life, every action that we take, we should be applying consciousness, right? So, like I just said, consciousness is the ability to be awake and aware in every situation. Sure, the Google definition might say something different, but it's basically along the same lines. And I believe that consciousness is basically our own ability to be able to think for ourselves. When assessing any situation, anybody says you should just do or you should just go ahead or this is the best thing, you should always apply consciousness, which is going to provide some skepticism, and then you'll be able to apply discretion to whatever that situation is, even if it's the most popular thing to do, right? Just because everybody's doing it does not mean that you have to do it. If you do that, you kind of fall into the trap of like slavery. And let me put you onto something. Sadhguru. Sadhguru is like literally an actual real life guru from India, and he goes around the world to all these press conferences and colleges talking about spirituality and things like that. And a quote of his, I have it written down right here. It is, compulsiveness is slavery. Consciousness is the only liberation we have. And I thought this was incredibly powerful because when we are being compulsive, when we are being reactionary, when we are being indulgent, those are things that we kind of do almost outside of our own control, right? Sure, our own body is doing it. Sure, we're taking those actions that aren't really productive to us. But at the same time, it's almost as if we have submitted ourselves to some like lower life form, some lower, self of being when we decide to indulge in, playing video games, just watching TV, sitting around procrastinating, doing nothing, right? So we should always apply consciousness, right? I even made a list of stuff apply consciousness when you catch yourself watching TV, when you catch yourself looking at YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, when you catch yourself, about to indulge in some junk food or candies and stuff like that, when you catch yourself even participating in conversation that is not productive to you, so basically just talking shit, you should, provide consciousness when you're about to listen to even music and podcasts, right? Especially if, what they're talking about in the music or in the media is just not productive whatsoever. You're not learning anything. You're not gaining anything from it. When you're about to impulsively buy something, right? If you just see it on the shelf, or if you see an ad on TikTok or an ad on YouTube, or you see your favorite YouTuber talk about something that they like and you immediately go and buy it, that's impulsive, right? That's compulsive. You're not applying any type of consciousness at all. And then, even thinking about when you overspend, right? When you're in the store and you're like, you know what, maybe I should get this, maybe I should get that, and that wasn't in the budget, that wasn't the intention to buy those things, that's also compulsive behavior, and you're not being conscious in that moment because, for one, you can save you a lot of money and stuff like that. So even of course, watching porn and masturbating, right? And I equate consciousness as well. Not only is it listening to your own self, basically, or to think for yourself, it's also kind of like the whole thing in cartoons or in shows where they have the angel and the devil on the shoulder. And then, you're listening to one is saying the other. You kind of like what they're both saying, but sometimes you're almost always going to go to the devil side because that side is going to fit more into those indulgent behaviors, and it's going to fit more into what you want at the current moment and not what you need overall in your life. So applying consciousness is basically listening to that angel, right? Kind of think of that cricket from Pinocchio. Oh my gosh, Jiminy Cricket. Yeah, oh my gosh. Kind of think of Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio, right? He's literally Pinocchio's consciousness, and every time Pinocchio messes up is because of some compulsive behavior that he wants to do. He's moving from one impulse to the other without even thinking about it, right? And then Jiminy Cricket is supposed to be like the example of like, hey, you should do this, you should be doing that, right? Because innately, or at least through our surroundings and what we understand and the things we consume, we always kind of know what is right, what is wrong, right? When you decide to give in to, you know, whatever bad behaviors or whatever behaviors don't serve our purpose and our mission in life, you're almost always going to feel bad, right? Because you wasted time, you wasted energy, you know, you just maybe spent money or something like that, right? You kind of have to think of all these things. And when you're being conscious, you're thinking of all the outcomes. You're thinking of all the consequences of whatever actions you're about to take, whether they're good or bad, right? And then you'll be able to apply the right decisions, right? Almost all the time when I'm making sure that I'm being conscious of what I'm doing and knowing why I'm going to do a certain thing, I almost always stop and then, you know, proceed on to what it is that I need to be doing, or, you know, readjust to what I should be doing in that moment, because that's, you know, that's the right thing to do. And I know those things are the right things to do. So we always kind of have like the answer inside of us, but we tend to not listen because what we want is the here and now, not for the then and later. And then, you know, what we're doing here and now is going to affect our then and later, right? So if you're going to be basically asleep, you know, throughout your life, just making whatever decision you want, whatever, not even thinking about it, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to end up in the best place ever, right? You have to try and have some idea of where you want to go or what you're going to be doing. And you have to, you know, apply the discretion in certain things. And like, you know, is this the best way for me to spend my time? Is this the best way for me to spend my money? Is this like, you know, the best way to go about things, you know, even day to day with everything, every little thing. It doesn't even matter, right? Even the time you eat breakfast in the morning or whatever the case may be, right? You should apply some type of discretion. Not only question the world with consciousness, but question yourself. Why are you doing this, right? Why are you almost having like this experience where your mind is not even there in control and your body is just moving without you even thinking of that, right? And that's what compulsion is. So I've been reading this book right here, right? I've mentioned it on the channel before, The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. I've been reading it a lot more consistently over the past couple of weeks, and it's like it's an incredible book. So like the last chapter I just read this morning, which is what inspired me to make this video, he kind of goes on consciousness, right? So he kind of uses consciousness in context with when it comes to being in a relationship, and kind of how women might tend to do this thing to where they request you to do something, and then you do it, right? You do it, you know, you're like, you know, you don't find any harm in just doing whatever it is that your woman or your girlfriend or your wife asks you to do. But now she's kind of like upset at you or holding some type of resentment or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of like that was a test, right? Even some women might not realize that, you know, they might say something but then feel a whole nother way behind their words. And that's just like, you know, how some women are, right? And these things are a test. They are a challenge to what David Deida kind of describes as our masculine core, right? And what we have to do is be conscious in every single moment, every single, just, you know, everything, you know, decision in our lives, right? He says that a superior man practices maintaining full consciousness in all situations, right? So again, like I said, we have to apply discretion. We have to kind of be analytical about things. So therefore, we know we're making the right decision, even if it's at the cost of disappointing others. But if you know what is right and you know what is supposed to align you to your own goals and your own purposes in life, then nobody can tell you nothing, right? Not even your own mama, all right? Not even your own mama, not your wife, not even your kids, maybe. I don't have kids, so I can't really speak on that. I'm not married either. I have a girlfriend, but you know, still, you know, I find myself having to tell her and explain to her, like, you know, I need to spend time doing X, Y, and Z, you know, and like, you know, I might not be able to get on the phone with her that night or talk to her that night or whatever the case may be, because, well, I have to focus on, you know, school assignments. I have to focus on making sure, like, you know, I read and write and, you know, videos and stuff like that, right? So it's like I have to make time for my goals and my passions in life. So therefore I can kind of secure myself and, hell, be in a better position to take care of her and, maybe a future family, and whatnot. So so here he says, the divine masculine is consciousness, right? And like I said earlier, a superior man practices full consciousness. So if whatever you're going to be doing is going to result in a decrease of your fullness, a diminution of your presence, a collapse of your consciousness, you should not do those things, right? And most of the time, you're gonna know what those things are. You're gonna know what's going to make you give in. You know what's gonna make you, get into those bad behaviors, right? So again, like with consciousness, thinking for ourselves, being aware, being awake, being able to see everything around us and actually being able to tell and know what it is, that is full consciousness, right? Always act to maintain your fullest consciousness and apply your sword of discrimination to anybody's request and to what anybody says, right? Don't just take what anybody says to face value. You have to be able to be skeptical and use discretion. And even if it seems like the best thing, what you're hearing seems like the best thing whatsoever, if that's the case, then test that out for yourself. Test that out for yourself, see what's gonna happen. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Again, with consciousness, you have to just, again, be aware of your surroundings, know what it is that you should and should not be doing, and you're almost always going to make the right decision, right? Like I said earlier with the angel and the devil, give in to the angel, right? Listen to the angel that's on your right shoulder or whatever, and they'll guide you to where you need to be, right? Consciousness is like that voice in your head that's like, hey, how about we do this? How about, we make sure we actually study and do our homework, right? And then what's funny is like over time, like we make that voice in our heads kind of like more and more quiet, more and more like a little like sissy or whatever. And then we have that devil on our shoulder being like, yeah, you know what? Go ahead, eat those cookies, eat those chips. Yeah, go ahead, just spend your money on this random thing. We need to have that angel voice, right? Our consciousness to be the one that is like loud and meaning, like, you're gonna get your ass up today and you're gonna take a cold shower, you're gonna work out, you're gonna eat healthy, you're gonna do your homework, you're gonna go to work, you're gonna blah, 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 right? That is the voice that needs to be listened to. That is consciousness. And consciousness is the path to true liberation and freedom. Peace out.